Okay, we're on. We should be on DLive. Coming up. I'm just going to click through my. Okay, we are on Trovo.
How exciting. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you. This is a good topic. Okay, we're up on Twitch. Yeah. We're up on Theta. We're up on Tiger Network. We are up on DLive. Looks like we're good.
Yay!
Okay, well, let's give everybody a minute to come in. I know they've been waiting, and that's okay. We had to figure it out. I'm gonna make sure that that's. There we are. Yep. Okay. And here we are. That's good. And I'm gonna record. Let's do that. Let's record it too, so that I can put it up when we're done. So, I'm going to send a note. Hello, everybody. Restream chat needs to come up. Let's try it again. Is waiting for new messages. I wonder why it's not letting me send. Well, I'm just going to have to take a look and see where we are. We've got a couple of viewers. All right, we've got a couple of viewers, so let's go ahead and start. All right, you guys. So one of the things that I think is really important to do these days is grab community members and let them share the skills they have and the experiences they have, and teach us something new, and give us an opportunity to learn some new ways of taking care of ourselves. I know that we've been talking for the last year and a half about prepping and storing food and medicine and supplies for the days ahead of us, and this is a really big challenge. So one of the things that I hear a lot from viewers is that it's really hard to do it on a budget, or that they're challenged because they have a difficult time getting around. So Just Cat Mom here has joined us today because she has really big experience with preparing on a budget and working around a disability, and I want to give her the floor here and invite her to talk about her disability and how she learned to prep on a budget. And I'm just going to hand the floor over to her. We really appreciate your time, and the preparation you put into this is really really great.
Thank you so much for having me, Alicia. I'm really honored to be here, and I really like to help as many people as I can. Just because the two topics are so huge, I decided to take on the disabilities aspect of it for this one, and I'd be more than willing to do like the more focus on the budget and other preps you can do with that, like for another presentation. I just know that there's so many people that do like prepping videos and stuff that a lot of people can get info from that, but I will also give you tips for finding stuff. But the disability thing was what really got me. I've had like a lot of health problems throughout my life. Like I had like some pretty life-threatening, I want to say it's related to a vaccine injury that I had as a kid, and yeah, I almost died in high school, which I'll talk about hopefully when we do that show. But
that's really scary.
Yeah, it is. It's really scary, and it scares me now because being around vaccinated people has affected me to a point where I'm starting to have issues with the blood disorder I had again, and it does scare me because there really isn't any treatment for it. But that was so I started having problems with that in elementary school and in high school, and then later on I found out I was bipolar when I was 21, and then right after that I developed fibromyalgia, which is a chronic pain condition, and that is just that is the thing that has really hurt my life so much. It's I say, like, when you have chronic pain, it really makes it makes your decisions for you. It's like I don't get to decide, oh, this is what I want to do for my career, my life. Don't want to have kids. Like, I don't have kids probably because of the pain mostly, and I can barely take care of myself. But in terms of prepping, I know it's been a challenge for me myself, but I also have my parents are older. Like, my mom's almost 75. My dad is a type 1 diabetic. And when the like pandemic started, it's like we really just started thinking about doing some really hardcore prepping, more than just having, like, I live in California, like, earthquake supplies. We started to see like people talking about there's probably going to be shortages and stuff. And so I wanted to get a lot more prepared than I had been. And so I came up with some of the things that I'd been thinking of to put into a PowerPoint presentation, and talk a little bit about that. And if you like, I can start sharing that right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So I don't know if I'm gonna lose myself if I start the.
It's
PowerPoint.
okay. Well, your picture should come up in the side corners. So, if you do the screen share, your slides should come up, and just go ahead and talk. We want to see your slides. There you go.
Okay, so can you see the slide now, or do I need to make it all the way into it?
No.
The actual. Okay, awesome.
Yeah, we can see it.
Good. That's good.
Okay. So, prepping while you're disabled, preparing for the worst when every day is a challenge. So I'm going to just start off with the definition of what is prepping. So I like to define it as just the art and practice of being prepared for anything, from something as mundane as a job loss to once in a lifetime black swan event like what we're dealing with now. And it's going to include not just supplies, but also knowledge, skills, and most importantly, like a positive attitude. And I'm going to say my prepping like began when I started having let's see, the first time I tried to get a career for myself going, that was in 2008, and I was racing cars at the time.
Nice.
And yeah, and they had like I went through the whole thing with the economy going down, and I lost all my sponsors. I was at a point where I could almost make a living at it, and I even had like film work lined up. I know people that like worked on Fast and the Furious and stuff, and they wanted to get me in on the next movie they were doing, but I had to keep training myself, and I didn't have the resources when I lost all my sponsorships. So that was my first event where I really had to be like, okay, I'm totally not prepared for this kind of thing. And then the next thing that happened is I used to be married, and not anymore. And my ex lost his job. And a lot of people don't think like that's something you need to prep for, but like very quickly, like within a month, we figured out that we needed to sell our house because we couldn't make the mortgage. And unfortunately, a lot of these like programs that help you out, like you have to be underwater before they help you out. They're not going to help you like right when you're on the verge. And we thought that it was a better idea just to sell the house and let it go instead of like getting in trouble that way.
Yeah.
So that was something that I'm like, okay, that's where like my mindset that I had from racing and from other things that happened in my life really helped me out, where I was able to just say, okay, our situation has changed. We can't keep holding on to like the ideas that we had before. We have to take action now. So that's kind of where I started thinking more in terms of preparation and mindset too. So the next slide might surprise you. Why I am not a prepper. I don't like calling myself a prepper, even though I totally prep, and my family would say I'm probably like that. I really just do not, on a spiritual or energetic like level, really connect with the whole community. I know my brother watches a lot of videos about prepping on YouTube, and I'm just really turned on by these things that I see. I see a lot of elitism. There's a lot of lone wolf mentality. They think like, oh, like you're going to have to fight off your neighbors and your family members coming to your door. Like you're going to have to turn them away and stuff like that. There's a lot of survival of the fittest attitude. Like if you're not like a commando, you're not going to survive kind of thing. There's a lot of fear mongering. I know a lot of people that do videos, they like to talk about all of these scary things, and they scare people, and a lot of them can't back it up. Like, I mean, you guys do a great job of like showing people like actual sources, and a lot of these people don't, because like panic sells, like, and allows them to sell stuff too. But I'm not really like that. And another thing I see is a lot of them, they don't actually have a lot of like practical knowledge. There are people that are out there that do know things, but for the most part, it's like people have read books. It's like they like to buy the gear. It's kind of a lifestyle more than like a practice. And I think the actual practice is more important. And I'll be the first to admit, I mean, like, I don't have any military like experience. I've never been in a really like serious disaster. So I don't have like a lot of practical skills, but I've just been taking care of myself and having some bad life experiences. So that's hopefully what I'll share with you guys today.
Awesome.
So feel free, if you guys have any questions from the chat, just let me know, because I can't see.
Right. Yeah. If you have questions for her, she goes along, drop them in the chat, and I will. I'll get them out to her. Okay.
Okay, so a lot of people say, where do we start? And a lot of people think, okay, we've been in this situation for almost 2 years now. And people are like, oh my God, is it too late to start prepping? And honestly, I don't think it's too late. If you can do one thing today, it's going to make you like better prepared for tomorrow. It's never too late to start. That being said, I don't usually read the newspaper, but my parents get like a local paper, and I was reading about how my area, it's just like the third leading area in the nation for inflation. And I know my brother and I have just realized that. We went to go get hamburger to make hamburgers. I don't have any military, and we were at the grocery outlet. I've never been in a really $4.99 for like a pound of hamburger. Like, that seems like a lot. Like, we'll just wait till we go to our regular store. And then when we get to the regular store, it was almost $6 a pound.
Wow.
So yeah, we're starting to see that stuff now. So unfortunately, now you are probably going to be paying more. But I think if you shop smart, you can still find a lot of stuff. So anyways, I think the best place to start, especially when you have a disability, is just with what I call, and I even do this to myself, this is a brutally honest self-assessment. And you have to be honest with yourself if you're going to like improve, if you're going to just, I don't know, a lot of people think like, oh, it's a disaster, like I'm going to be like these guys in the movies and stuff like that. And like, we really just need to be honest with ourselves and say like, well, what do I really know, and can I really do this? And that's really hard. So I have some questions here, and hopefully like you can ask yourself this, and I will make sure everyone has access to the PowerPoint too, so you don't have to take notes or anything. I'll share it later.
Awesome.
So we're going to start with just asking yourself, what can and can't you do? And it's really important to think of this. And this is something I just have been thinking like ever since I started having problems with chronic pain. And you want to think of this in both a mental and physical ability. It's like, I know for myself that I have, on my good days, like, you wouldn't know that I have a disability. On my bad days, I can be stuck on my couch all day. And that's kind of the bad thing with having fibromyalgia, is like, you just don't know what you're going to be. I mean, I know basically every day I have some kind of pain. And my dad, he's really good, but we have to be careful with him with his blood sugar. So that's like something you can think of. But yeah, think about what you can do as well as what you can't do. Like, what am I really good at? Like, can I organize stuff? Like, am I good at cooking or something like that? Do I have other skills like that? That's a good thing to know, because know yourself, you know, that's kind of like an esoteric thing. And once you know what you don't know, you can fill the gaps. And so the next thing you want to think about is, how healthy are you, both physically and mentally? A lot of people don't think of the mental aspect, but I know with my condition, I have like, it already predisposes me to depression. And since I'm already bipolar, like, that can be an issue. And I know with what we've been dealing with now, like I need to work on my support structure there with that. So that's something I want to think about prepping. I mean, always include the mental aspect. So, and then you might have like other things that aren't just mental, emotionally. Like I also have problem with brain fog. I know people that have had COVID have had that too. So that could be like something that you might be dealing with, and you will want to make sure that you allow for that with giving yourself more time, with just being more understanding with yourself, being nicer to yourself. And then the next thing that I would think of is, are you in shape? And if the answer to this is no, that's perfectly fine, because you can change that. We can all do that. And then the next stuff you want to think about are more like medication and medical devices stuff, like do you use mobility aids? Do you use hearing aids, like, or anything like that? Like, what do you need, and what kind of upkeep of the stuff that you have for that? And then other things would be like, what are your strengths and weaknesses in terms of skills and knowledge? And yeah, again, being honest is going to be helpful here, because you want to be able to go, obviously, and educate yourself and start getting practical knowledge too. And for some people, like, you know, like being more prepared can be, hey, I'm just going to learn to cook. And that's really important. And then another thing to think about too is, what foods, supplements, and medications do you need? What can you do without, and what do you absolutely have to have? And I think with us, that really came into focus when we were looking at like medication shortages during probably like the middle of the pandemic, and then some stuff that changed when Biden became president, and they changed how insulin was being billed, I guess. And that changed for my dad, because it made like, okay, insulin's going to be a lot more expensive, and hopefully it didn't really affect him that much, but I know other people it did. And so we'll go right into mental preparedness now.
I want to. Can we go back to that last slide for a minute?
Oh yeah, sure. Just a second.
Yeah. You know, if you have challenges, do you have, you know, you need to ask yourself, as you assess these things, who in my community, or who in my system, my support group, my support base, is close enough to me to help me in a crisis. And
yes, definitely.
You know, you want to make sure that you have made arrangements with any of those people for transportation, for you know, maybe having them come and get you if you aren't able to drive, things like that.
Yeah, I have that like later on, but that's definitely important. That's probably something I should add to that, is just asking like who can I rely on, and is that like something that I could work on? Like, I know for me, I don't like asking for help so much, because like I've seen my parents gotten to like they need more help than they used to, and so me seeing that they need help makes me less likely to ask them for help, but I don't realize like that they want to help me too, and that they're for me too. So like that's probably something to look at too. It's like, look at your relationships and see what could be stronger. I mean, a lot of people like they don't want to ask for help, especially if you've been disabled for a really long time. Yeah. And you know, people just are like, okay, it's not novel anymore. Like, you're always sick, you're always in pain or something, and you feel like you're a burden, and maybe like you're not. And a lot of people don't realize that.
That's a great point, honey. Keep going.
All right, so mental preparedness. So the first thing is like the good thing that's happening to us right now, I think, is that it's been a year, almost 2 years now, and we really have a pretty decent trajectory of what's going to happen. I mean, we don't know exactly the odds and ends and how everything's going to play out, but we're seeing that we're going into the biosecurity state, and we're going to be dealing with like an economic collapse. I think that's pretty clear to see that that's happening, and the continuing thing with medication, and we're seeing people like getting denied access to medical care, which is just insane in my opinion. But it's good for us because we have like an idea. It's not going to be like, oh my god, there's like a 10.0 earthquake and we don't know what to do.
Right.
That would be something that's really bad. Because it allows us to kind of tailor our preps and work on other things that I'll get to in a little bit. But I have to say, if you need any emotional help, like in terms of counseling, if you have trauma or something, like I did this like a couple of years ago, I was really glad I did. Or if you have any problems with alcohol or drugs, like illicit or prescription, like prescription drugs are really bad. I know from being in pain clinics that I've seen a lot of people go through like opiate withdrawals and stuff. If you need that kind of help, like you should probably get it now, because I think we can all see that they're like denying people access because of their vaccination status, and just the fact that like even before that, like they've been denying people services because of the pandemic, which is like silly. But
Right.
I know I couldn't get counseling unless I wanted to do it on Skype or something. I wasn't comfortable with that, so I didn't do it. But yeah, if you need to do it, and keep in mind too that you don't have to go to like a medical professional if you need like emotional help. I know that there's churches out there that can have support groups. There's other outside groups too. So one of the things you can really, oh, sorry, did you want to say something?
That's really, that's really good advice. You can find a community group, and they're free. And, sometimes being in like a group of people who are going through similar challenges is extremely beneficial, because sometimes when it's your day to have the worst day of the group, you've got 15 people there to support you. And some days, most days, you go in there and you get your needs met emotionally, but you also understand that maybe you're not as bad off. And
yeah,
that is really, sometimes when we've been down for a really long time, we lose our perspective. And so those group settings are really good for helping us put our perspective back in balance.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to sound really weird, but like that's one of the biggest reasons why I go to protests, because I mean, to me, in my opinion, I don't think the protests are going to change any of the like people in charge's mind. But I like going there for the camaraderie, and it's like you're going to get people that are like kind of on the same page with you. And I've met a lot of people that are like myself, and it's nice. I mean, it's really good to see. Like just knowing that you're not alone is really helpful. And I know that like right now they're really trying to isolate us, and it's important to remind us that we are in like a psychological war right now. And that, so we have to think a little bit differently. And then we have to think like, mentally, we have to be soldiers too, and we have to protect ourselves like emotionally and mentally, because there's just so much propaganda. There's like just, we're being assaulted on all fronts right now.
You're right.
So, hi baby. So you want to start getting yourself used to the idea that things are not going to be comfortable, and you're going to have to make changes quickly. I think we all know we're not going back to normal, and you want to focus on the moment. And I know this sounds really hard, but like I've seen my parents go through this, and I've seen my mom, like she kind of goes through like, well, it'll just be over like eventually. Oh my God. Sorry.
It's okay.
That means. So yeah, we have to tell her, like, I have to remind her that like, Mom, I know this is hard to deal with, but like we talk through stuff. And I think in terms of prep though, like you might experience something like a lot of people might be dealing with like eviction, because eviction bans are like ending right now. And that was like something that I think really helped me when I lost the house with my ex, is that like we were just able to say, okay, we can't try to save this, like we just have to get out, and we have to try to like just come up on our feet. So that's what we need to do. And so it is an interesting story. Like when I started looking into prepping communities on Reddit, I had a conversation with a guy that was in the military, and I said, you know what, I'm disabled, like I don't have any military experience, I don't have a lot of money, but I've always been able to sort of like realize how things are changing and get through with it, and just kind of like not linger on the past. And like that's always served me really well in my life. And he's like, it's people like you that tend to survive more, because they're not like, you're not clinging on to like your belongings or something, or like you're willing just to see what's happening in the moment and adapt to it and go on. So I think that's important for people to realize, like, is, just your mindset can be a really strong survival tool.
It
And
really is.
yeah, that's why I brought that book. This is the image shows a book called When All Hell Breaks Loose. I think that's something that actually Corey was talking about. And I looked it up one night and I'm like, oh my gosh, this sounds really interesting. And I bought the book. I haven't finished reading it. I'm only in the first couple of chapters. But what I really like about this book is that it focuses a lot on your mental state. And it talks about how important it is to keep up hope and keep belief in yourself, and to remain positive. And I thought that was really weird because I have so many other prepping books. I'm like, wow. But it makes a lot of sense, especially going through everything that we have. And so the last thing on the slide is just start researching things that'll help you survive. If you have some idea of what you might need to do, you're going to be more confident when you actually have to do it. And I think that's what they reinforce in that book. So go to the next slide.
Okay.
And then be ready and willing to make quick decisions and adapt to your situation and to new situations when they happen. And then really just start thinking about who and what's really important in your life and focus on those things and make them a priority. Like what happened to me in the pandemic was like, I had a business. I pretty much lost my business. I was in film school. I had to drop out. I thought by now I'd be married and living with my fiance in Scotland. And yeah, that didn't happen. I haven't seen him in 2 years. And really just losing all of this stuff just really made me realize just what's really important in my life. And despite having held the hardships from last year, I feel like I'm stronger. And like, if there's just one thing I could wish, it was like, I wish I could see him. And I know he's watching us now, so you know you're out there. And I love you. And you know, it's great that we can still talk through the internet and stuff. So anyways, so you want to do is work on your outlook, and remember, you are a strong person. You have survived this long, and you will survive in the future, and you are capable. Your mindset is everything, which is what that book really goes into, which is why I think it's a great reading suggestion for anyone watching this, because I think we know as like disabled people or people that have chronic illness, like we're always the ones that are like, you know, the burden on society. It's like they're the ones that they're trying to get rid of right now. So I included one of my favorite White Rose stickers there for you too.
You are powerful. Start acting like it. I love that.
Yes. Yeah, and you know, another thing you can change is like, don't feel like you're victimized. Feel like empowered. Like a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, like people are forcing me to get these jobs. Like, I don't want to do it. Like, no, it's like you are a person. You have inherent rights, regardless of whatever country you're in or what the law says. It's like you are a person and you're strong and you have rights, and other people cannot violate your bodily autonomy. So start acting like that. Okay, so why you must stay hopeful. I found this out like in a meme, and I went and researched it, and I thought this was really interesting. So there was a guy named Kurt Richter that did a bunch of experiments with rats in the 1950s, and he was one of those creepy, like, probably eugenicist kind of level people from Johns Hopkins and Harvard. And what he did is he placed rats in some water to see how long they would survive before they drowned. And he used wild and domesticated rats. And the wild rats seemed to die like really quickly, but the domesticated rats didn't do it so much. He's like, well, why? And then he thought like, oh, it's probably because they're used to somebody intervening and saving them. So he wanted to take this a little further. So he tested out the hypothesis with domestic rats, and in the third part of the experience, he rescued them from the jars when they were near drowning. And then because he's like just a total sick individual, he put them back in and let them drown, but like this time they lasted so much longer than they did before. And he kind of showed that, yeah, hope is really important to survival. And I put a link there if anyone wants to read about that later. It is good to know. I mean, like, it's really good to know that. But
I'm really glad you included that, because it's kind of the same thing with the idea of placebo medicine. The power
exactly.
of your mind is so incredible. And if you can dig yourself out of a dark spot, you have a better chance. And if you can't, but you have access to somebody you can talk to, a friend, somebody you can laugh with, somebody you could cry with, somebody you could just lay it all out there, expressing it, getting it out verbally, is a form of pulling up your bootstraps, because when you hear yourself say it, it lessens it. And so when you you got to make a list, take some time and make a list of ways that you can bump up your hope when you guys are feeling down. Because that's critical, and in the days to come, I think that's going to be a real big.
Yeah, we're gonna need it. I mean,
thing.
I've been working with the White Rose group for a long time, and I just read stuff in the chats, and it's so sad now because with all these mandates and everything, it's like there's people that are just like saying, I want to see my grandchildren, I want to be able to go on vacation, like I don't really have much to live for, I'm just gonna get the shot anyways. And like, to me, that is just
it's
so
so
depressing
sad.
to read.
It's so
Yeah,
sad.
it's like, just don't give up. I mean, here's like another kind of story that goes with it. It's like when I was in the hospital, I was I had a roommate for a while before I went to solitary confinement in the ICU, but she had leukemia, and she ended up dying, and I didn't know this, and nobody told me when I was in the hospital, and I didn't even realize until I was an adult. And I have severe survivor's guilt for this, especially because I saw her parents after she died, and I asked about her, and they just gave me like the dirtiest look, and I didn't even realize until I was out of there that she had died, and I felt so horrible about that. And I told my psychologist that, and she told me, like, it wasn't your fault that you did that, and it's probably a good thing that they didn't tell you that she died because of this effect with the rats. They were saying that there's people in the hospital, and it's like they hear about like somebody that they know dying, it's like they tend to give up and they'll die too. And I'm just like, wow, I never really thought of that, but like reading about this, it makes a lot of sense. So like don't give up, you guys. Like, always think is like things are gonna get really bad, but like think of all of the good things that you've experienced in your life. I mean, it's really hard. I mean, I'm kind of like Pandora here with their box, and like all this crap fell out of it, but at the bottom there was still hope. Like, I've always just had this hope that like something good is here, or I haven't like got my life's purpose out yet, but that's just really important. So there's your first part is mental preparedness. So we'll get on to the other stuff.
Excellent. Great
So
point. Great point so far.
So do we have any questions or anything before we get to physical preparedness?
No questions so far, but a lot of appreciation for the thoughts and comments that you've brought together so far. Everybody's really enjoying your presentation, honey.
Okay, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it, and I love that I can help you do this, because I know on my end I can't stream because my computer is like so bad. But anyways, we'll keep going.
Okay.
So physical preparedness. So okay, the first thing we need to know, because we know that we're going into this biosecurity state, we need to make ourselves as healthy as we possibly can. And this is not fun, and I've been in enough, like, I used to have Kaiser Permanente for insurance, and they had a chronic pain management clinic, and it was like a 12-week course, and I've done it like 3 times, and it's like every single class, it's just people want like a pill to make everything better, and they don't realize that like to get better and to get to wellness, you're gonna have to actually do work, and it's not gonna be fun, and it's not gonna be easy. So what you got to do first, I think the first thing anyone can do, even if you're healthy, to improve your health is clean up your diet. Eat the best food you possibly can. And I'm going to say, as somebody that's been broke for the last year and a half, that like this is really hard to do when you don't have a lot of money, but it's not impossible. And if you're able to and you have the space, you can definitely grow a garden. And I know like somebody that is doing like apartment gardening. I think her name's Musical 2020. She's in the chat all the time with you guys.
Yeah.
She actually has a YouTube channel. I hope that she would drop it in here. I don't know if she's watching, but like I'll ask her to post it up in the Telegram chat for us.
Okay.
But she talks about that, and I have a garden too. I mean, I could talk for hours about gardening, but yeah, just stop drinking soda. Like look for better things to eat, like get rid of like processed foods. I know it's hard, especially as food gets like more expensive, but that's going to be the foundation of good health. And then another thing you could do is detoxing your diet. I know there's a lot of different like cleansing things. Like I did like a GI kind of cleanse with psyllium fiber and apple cider vinegar and raw honey, and that helped me a lot. And that's kind of like where you want to start. And I know if you have like any kind of chronic pain or chronic conditions, that really getting inflammation under control is going to be really important, especially because we know that like COVID really like gets the inflammation stuff in your body. And detox is not going to be just like your food and stuff. You want to look at like your personal care items and cleaning items too, because there's a lot of stuff out there like chemicals that can actually aid to your inflammation, and you don't want to do that.
Right.
Another thing that everyone hates, and even I'm guilty of this, I'm bad with this, I need to work on this, is that you want to practice good sleep hygiene and get good rest. And sleep hygiene just refers to like your bedtime practices, like do you watch TV or the internet all night? Like you don't want to do that. You want to get off your devices like 30 minutes or so before you go to bed. Maybe do a ritual like where you're like drinking tea or you're meditating or something. Like rituals are really important, especially around bedtime, because they kind of give your body like a physiological sign that you want to go to bed. And one thing that helps if you have pain,
that's a really
too,
big deal, and I miss having a bathtub.
Yeah.
Because bathtub was like my
a bathtub.
I'd soak with bubbles and a book and a candle for half an hour and
there you
music,
go. And then you go to sleep.
Then I would be tired and ready to go to bed.
Yeah. And then a thing, if you don't have a bathtub, and an acupuncture doctor I had that was really cool told me this, is you can go and just put your feet like wash your feet in warm water, and that kind of like warms you up, and the changing your body temperature will help you tell you that it's time to sleep. So that can help if you can't get
definitely a great cue, huh?
Yeah. And then another thing, nobody likes to hear this, even I need to work on this, is like we should all start doing some kind of realistic exercise and or physical therapy routine.
Yeah.
And I know from the pain clinic is that like for every day that you stay on the couch and you don't move and you're sedentary, it's like you lose something like, I don't even remember what the percentage, because there's my fibro vlog coming in, but you lose muscle mass every day that you do that. So you should try to move, and it's really hard, but you have to do it. And like gentle walking is really good. It helps your health, and it kind of helps get you out of your environment and see something new. I know here it's been really bad because it's been so hot and the sun has been intense, so I haven't really gone out that much. But I know if you don't have a lot of money, some things you can do are just look on YouTube. I mean, there's so many different things, and just don't look for exercise too. Look for physical therapy or yoga, and you'll find a lot of videos. Like I might try to get a document together with stuff that I found that's useful.
Awesome.
I know I had an injury like in December that was pretty bad, and it didn't even heal enough. Like I hurt my piriformis muscle, and that's like it hits your sciatic nerve, and it's kind of like in your hip, in your butt.
That is such a painful muscle. Oh my god.
Yeah.
It's deep. That is a deep pain.
I hurt that in October, and I didn't even get to the point where I could walk a lot until about January. And then by that time, it's like they started closing stuff down. So it wasn't like I could get physical therapy because, well, you don't need physical therapy in a pandemic. So I kind of was on my own, and, I didn't really know what to do, but I found some videos to watch and they helped. And doing yoga is good. I need to do that again because now it's migrating to my other hip, and that's not good. And I just need to take care of myself better. But another program,
you know what? There's a woman in Costa Mesa. She does rolfing. Her name is her last name is Campbell. I'll get you her information. If you are having like a chronic issue with your hip flexors and piriformis and deep rotator muscles, you want to go see her. I'll get you her information. When I had my hysterectomy, you know, they basically just grab your uterus and pull and cut, and all your ligaments and pelvic floor muscles just kind of snap back. And I was having a really difficult time walking after my hysterectomy, and she solved that problem for me. It's a 10-session series, and it's not fun. It's not light work, but it never came back. So
that's good.
She's like the person I recommend when I hear those kind of things. I'll get you her information.
Thank you so much.
You bet.
So another good thing that especially if you're older, there's a program, and I don't know if it's just California, it might be a national thing. It's called Silver Sneakers. And I know out like at least 2 of the gyms that I used to go to, they had those programs there. And you can actually get gym memberships through Medicare. I don't know about Medi-Cal, but definitely Medicare, especially if you're older. And they're free, especially the Silver Sneaker stuff. And even if you're not old, I did the programs through the gyms that I went to, because basically they're focused on range of motion. And I was doing physical therapy with a physical therapist at Kaiser, and that was like, it helped me in my worst of days, but it just wasn't quite enough. But I wasn't ready to do full-on exercise, so I did Silver Sneakers for like a few months, and then I started working with a personal trainer, and it really helped me. And they're going to do things like range of motion, like exercises with your wrist to help you open jars and stuff. And I was like really, really impressed with that. So that's something you can look at, and a lot of them, like, you can get them through community recreation programs too, so you could look through that. Like, just get creative. And the next thing I want to talk about, I'm going to try to get to this because it's going to like take a little bit, but is the medication question. And I first want to preface with this: I am not a doctor. This isn't medical advice. This is just going to be tips and stuff from my personal experience. So, like,
real quick. If you're going to be sharing your slides and everything, put your face back up. We want to see you.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
I'm still on my slides. Like,
that's
I don't
okay.
know.
If you can see your slides, bring it up, show it, and then put your face back up. I can't control that since you're screen sharing. So,
okay.
Put it up. Talk about what about medication, and then put your face back up. We want to see you.
Yeah, I'm just gonna tell you kind of the basic things. As like, okay. So what we want to do is, okay, I'm just gonna do this. Can you probably stop sharing for a second? And I'm just going to look at this really fast. Okay, so yeah, I'm not a doctor. This isn't medical advice. So the first thing I would say to everyone right now is make sure you stay on top of your medication refills. Can you guys see me?
Yes, we can see you.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, okay.
And you can see your slides?
Yeah, I can see my slides. That's great.
Okay.
Okay, so make sure you guys stay on top of your medication refills, okay? Figure out the earliest dates when you can refill and make sure that your order is in on those dates. Also, make sure that your doctor is giving you new refills as you need them. And I'm going to say this from personal experience. I've been bad where I've let my refills go too late. And when I lived up with my ex in Bakersfield, it wasn't a huge medical thing. So I would need I need Depakote, and I can't get that. Because I would take, I had such a big, prescription of it that they would have to, okay, we can maybe give you, a quarter of your prescription or something. So just don't let stuff like that you can prevent become an emergency. And then number 2, I know especially now with doctors getting busy, that, make sure that you can communicate with your doctor that you need a refill. A lot of times they can just call it into the pharmacy. Or sometimes you need a new prescription. Just stay on top of that.
Definitely stay on top of it. And, sometimes certain insurances will allow you to get it 3 months at a time delivered.
Yeah.
Talk to your doctor, say, I'm concerned about the world. Can I get a 3 months prescription, 6 month prescription, ahead? They may not fill it 6 months every single time you refill it, but if you refill it, maybe they'll give you 6 months, and then in 4 months you can refill your prescription regularly again, so you have a little bit stored up,
Yeah, because you just don't know when there'll be shortages, or you might not be able to get a refill because they might say, hey, like, like everyone's locked down, like we're in Australia now or something like that.
Right.
So,
You haven't had the vaccine, so
yeah, we're not
you
getting
can't have your
anything.
meds.
Yeah, so another good thing to do is that if you know you might be getting laid off, like you're looking at a potential job loss or loss of income because you're not going to get vaccinated or something, start preparing for that now. Like, talk to your doctor, just tell them what's going on. And because I will tell you, like, with when my ex lost his job, they laid him off at the end of the month, and I had literally like 6 hours to contact all of my doctors before they were going to drop us from my insurance. And luckily, I was able to get in contact with my psych doctor and get like as many refills as I could put on the prescription. So when I took it to a different pharmacy, I could at least get the medication. But like when it happens, it'll happen fast. So just try to be prepared with that. But one thing that somebody did, and I'll like screen share this really fast.
Yeah.
Where does that go? Let me share my screen so you can see this. I was told by somebody when I went to when I left him and I had moved back down with my parents. I talked to the pharmacist because I was looking at getting like generic Depakote, which is a really old drug, and it's so cheap to make, but it was going to cost me like $800.
Oh my
That was
God.
insane. Yeah. So I was like, oh my God. I mean, I had the money, but that would be like all the money that I had. And so they're like, okay, there's this thing called GoodRx, and I don't really know how it works. It's something like a group buy-in program, and you can get a card, and they basically
free.
give you coupons for stuff. It's free, and it's not like they're asking for a lot of personal information. But you can find coupons, and you have to like be careful when you use the service because it'll tell you like this is a coupon for like Albertsons, this is a coupon for like CVS or something, and you can find some really, really, really good deals. Like I ended up only paying like $200 for that medication, which was a lifesaver. Yeah, so I was very, 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 very grateful for the pharmacist for telling me that. But ask your pharmacist about that because there's also drug companies that have discounts and like they can help you. And I know a lot of people like want to help and they know a lot of stuff, so don't be afraid to ask. So there's the link to it, and you guys can have this like when we're done with it. So I'm going to I never put this to share screen up.
That's okay.
I'm sorry, but yeah, it's GoodRx. So next thing, okay, so this is the part that's really like not medical advice, but stuff to think about because I have experienced this multiple times in my life when I didn't have insurance or my insurance got really expensive. Like I got in this thing where it was like I had to apply for Medi-Cal, which is California's like cheap insurance, but like I still had my ex's income. I didn't have my own like taxes yet, and so I had to wait I waited like 6 weeks to hear back from Medi-Cal, and because they were using my ex's income, they denied me Medi-Cal, and they're like, well, you have to buy insurance now. But like in that 6 week period, I was like, I couldn't do open enrollment and buy insurance off the exchange. So not only did I not have insurance for half of the year, I had to pay $800 and a penalty. Like Obamacare has got to be like one of the worst things that ever happened in the healthcare system.
Yes.
And I'm like, great.
Yes.
So not only can I not get medication, I can't get like medical or therapeutic advice when I need it. Like, and I have to pay like almost $1,000 for the joy of that. Like, thanks guys. But anyways, okay. So I am going to, I'm going to share my screen just so we can look at this and hopefully do it the right way. Okay. I guess I can't because it's not coming up, but I'll just read it. Okay. So when you think about medication, just assess your medications and just think, what meds can you stop taking? What meds can you take less of? And what do you absolutely have to survive? I know people are saying don't stop your medication, but what ended up happening with me when I lost my insurance is that I had to I was looking at I think the time it was almost an entire year before I would be able to get medication again. And I did run out of medication. So I just looked at the stuff that I had and I started tapering off my doses. Because I'll tell you right now, cold turkey is a terrible plan. You do not want to go cold turkey on anything, especially if you take psychiatric medication. like just be prepared, especially with psych meds, that you are going to have like withdrawals, and they're going to be physical and mental. So like if you have to do that, like just be prepared to deal with that and make sure that you have some kind of a support system there, because it can be pretty bad. I know for physical like withdrawals, like I was shaking, like I had like a lot of nausea, I had a lot of anxiety and stuff. It took me a really long time to deal with that physically. So
Sure.
if you take something, just like research what the withdrawals are, and
Wean off really slowly if you can.
yeah. And so like my second point on the slide, I wish I could share this with you so you could see it, but I'll just keep reading it. It's just know the side effects of stopping your medication. And like I said, psych meds can cause withdrawal symptoms, but also know what they are, have a plan to deal with them, and also deal with the emotional side effects. And cold turkey is a terrible plan. And if you're looking at a situation where you might have to taper your pills, I would highly suggest getting a pill splitter. You can usually get them for free. Like if you just ask a pharmacist, I know that like Kaiser used to charge, but I've just been like, oh, can I get one? Because I don't want to take all of this or whatever. And so they just gave it to me, but they aren't expensive, like maybe less than $5. But
Yeah,
they help
they're
you.
not.
Yeah, they help you actually like cut a pill like in a better way than a knife, so you can actually figure out what dosage you're getting. And then also while we're on this topic is like look for natural replacements for prescription meds. You don't want to obviously you're the herbalist here, I'm not, but like I have found that like there are stuff like I can make teas out of and actually grow like chamomile and catnip
Yeah.
and valerian and stuff. And even if I don't grow it yet, I've been able to buy stuff, and I found that a lot of times it actually helps me more than the medication I was taking. Like I take I found a really good like yogi teas, sleepy time blend is really good, and I picked that up at the grocery outlet, and that was really good, and it helps me with my pain too. So
That's good to
that is
hear.
something. Yeah,
That's
that is
really
something
good
that
to
can
hear.
help you.
Rocky says here that GoodRx their 90-day price for a prescription is just only a little bit higher than their 30-day price. So you can get your 90-day using GoodRx.
Sorry.
You won't spend too much more money. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, it just depends on what it is there. Like, look at that, and then it depends on what your like prescription is, because I know for my Depakote that the prescription, it was a 90-day prescription, and that's why it was so expensive.
Yeah.
I mean, it would have been stupid expensive even if it wasn't. It's a 90-day thing, and I was taking so much, and I'm really happy to say that like I actually eventually tapered myself off of all of my medications last year. And even after being bipolar for most of my life, I've been pretty okay. And I noticed a lot like improvement with my physical symptoms. And mentally, I'm about the same. So,
That's good to hear.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't suggest it for everyone, and you're going to just have to think of like your own problems. But I know that like people losing medication could be a cause of worry and stuff. And like, don't overly stress yourself out if you don't have to. Okay, I don't know why I can't share my screen. I might have to start like just not showing that. How sad.
Oh, well.
I know. I might have to like I had to start PowerPoint again, and I would just like to show people this stuff because I have some cool stuff. So I'm just gonna like just close this out really fast and
Okay.
just start it up again. But we'll keep talking. But yeah, like definitely look into like what kind of natural stuff is, and can you take like supplements are really good, or can you detox, and that might help.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, there's a lot of alternatives out there, and I know like a lot of doctors don't want you to do that because they don't make money and stuff. So yay, here we are.
Right. They don't make money. They can't control it. They can't control you on it. They can't control the pharmacists.
Yeah, exactly.
Pharmaceuticals don't make any money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm also glad I got off my medication because a lot of psychiatric medication, if you take it for years, and I'm almost 40 now, and I've been taking it for probably like 20 years, and I know with the like bipolar medication, it causes liver damage, it causes like tremors, and I started having full body tremors, and I just really got to a point with my doctor. I'm like, this is irreversible damage. I need to get off this medication, and she didn't want me to do that. So I started like looking into other things at that point. But anyways,
Well,
okay.
I'm glad you did. I have somebody in my family who was on a lot of similar meds, and she's much younger, and she was getting the tremors, and she was having liver and kidney failure because she'd been on the meds for so long.
Yeah,
And,
it's really dangerous.
She found a good naturopathic doctor that helped her clean up and heal up her body, but boy, the damage was really done.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I found when I cleaned up and had like a really amazing diet where I really eliminated a lot of stuff, that it actually helped my mental health, and I started actually having improvements for once in my life. Like I've never experienced that. I wish I could do it, but it's really expensive and it's a hard diet. But anyways, we'll keep going.
Keep going.
Okay, so we need to build a support network, like Alicia was saying, and you can't survive alone. I know there's a sort of like this lone wolf mentality with prepping channels and stuff like that. That is just so bad. Like I have, and I'll try to find a link to this and I'll add it on at the end so when you come and look at it. But I read this really amazing thread, and it's kind of famous in prepping circles, but it was posted on a survival message board by somebody that was living in either Serbia or Croatia during the civil war there, and they talked about how they survived, and they required like grouping together with their family, and they're like, if you were a lone wolf, like you just didn't make it, somebody would rob you, like eventually it was just over. So yeah, build your tribe. You're gonna need like help and human contact. I mean, human contact is so important. And like I said, if you have problems, make sure that you can find somebody to help you, like a family, a friend, a neighbor. And first, what you want to be able to do is make sure you can trust them and that they're a nice person and they're someone that isn't going to like turn on you or anything like that. Like I know, like if I had to look at my neighbors, there's like I have one person in my neighborhood I could really trust. Like I don't trust any of my other neighbors. They're just really weird. I know I have one that like asks me and my brother like if we're vaccinated all the time, and I'm just kind of like, dude, like leave us alone. But like it's good to find somebody in your community that you can have like contact with, and that's really important. But if you're kind of like me and you don't like really being social or anything like that, think about getting a pet. And cats and dogs are really great companion animals, and I had to put the obligatory orange cat for my orange son, who's probably like yelling at me outside right now. But they're really great. I mean, cats, they can be really great companion animals. They're quiet, they're easy to take care of. Dogs are great too. I mean, they're so empathetic, and they just know when you need them. And security is important too. And a lot of people think, oh, cats, like they're not going to attack somebody. Well, yeah, they won't. But I know from watching my cats, if when they start acting a certain way, I know that there's something outside and they can alert me and stuff. And in addition to that, they also give you a reason to keep going and improve your morale. I know there was times when I was dealing with bipolar stuff really bad and fibro stuff really bad, that if it wasn't for my cats, like I would not have gotten out of bed. So that's really important. And of course, you don't have to have cats or dogs too. I mean, look at Zerlath and his little mini dragon. I mean, he's pretty cool.
Right?
Yeah.
Some people have guinea pigs. We have dogs.
Yeah, you guys have dogs. I mean, there's a lot of things, but like dogs and cats are like really good because you can pet them and stuff, and they kind of sit on you and stuff. But anyways, so work on fortifying your spiritual well-being too. Like I said, we are in like a total like spiritual and mental war, or total psyop in all senses of the word. So, you know, find a religious organization if that's what floats your boat, or like just do an individual practice. Like I know that during the beginning of the year, I started like feeling a need to get like a lot more spiritual, and I've been looking at that kind of stuff. And I thank you guys for giving me that kind of resources too. So I really appreciate that. And that's helped me a lot. So you need that really like moral strength to keep yourself going too. So we're going to get on to
you know what, you really do. You really need a good, firm spiritual base. With all the things coming at us, that's that's part of maintaining your hope too.
Yeah, and having like
spiritual base.
Yeah, even like daily rituals that you do, and it doesn't have to be like necessarily spiritual or anything, but just things you do every day. It's very like reassuring and stuff.
It is.
Okay, so the next thing we should probably get talking about is supplies. And
Okay.
there's the old saying, you know, two is one, one is none. And get backups for your medical devices if possible. Keep your old devices and think about protecting them in a Faraday cage. I made a Faraday cage out of a galvanized trash can, and I took pictures of it when I was building it. So I will be making that into a tutorial because I talked to some other people in the Telegram chat about that. So
Okay.
we'll do that. And I know my dad, he has hearing aids and an insulin pump, like what's on the screen.
Cool.
And just make sure, like, I had him take his old pump, and that's in the Faraday cage. I have him keep his old hearing aids, and every time he goes to get batteries for those things, I'm like, buy an extra set of batteries. It's like, if you don't have that, like, you might not be able to get that again. And so he does that, and I do that with him and his glucose tablets too, because they can be hard to find too. And if you have stuff that needs to get serviced and cleaned, make sure you keep up with that and collect spare parts if you can, and batteries too. And you don't have to buy everything at once. Just, you know, if you get a chance and you can afford it, like just pick up like just an extra. It's always a good idea to have.
Yes, it is.
And then another thing you should do, especially if you take any kind of medications, is just make a list of all the medications you take and get the names, the size, and the dosage, and keep a copy in your wallet and in your emergency bag along with a copy of your ID or other important documents with your emergency stuff. We'll get to that in the next few slides. And this is something my dad found. He's really into like biking and rides mountain bike and road bike. And they talk about this. This is one of the sponsors of the Tour de France, but this company called Road ID. And they have really good medical bracelets. They're really durable. They're fashionable. And they have a system where you can sign up with the company and they'll keep like your medical history and stuff. And that's just a picture of what the road IDs look like. And you can put it on, they have them for like, if you have like a Fitbit or a watch, you can put them on there too. And they'll maintain like your medical stuff too.
I have one
And then,
I wear
yeah,
when,
road
you
ID
know,
is really
if
good.
I go anywhere other than the grocery store.
Yeah, it's something good to have. I mean, I should have it because I'm like thinking, I'm like, okay, there's at least 2 things on there that I'm like allergic to. Okay, so this is something that is probably like not easy to talk about, and I'll try to I'll go back onto my screen for this, but just to go over the points, this is the have the hard conversation before the disaster. I'm going to switch back to my screen so you
Okay.
can see me. And this is something that I just thought about because my brother and I were researching, like, how can we help my dad if he has a diabetic emergency? So he's a type 1 diabetic, and that means he's insulin dependent. And, you know, he's been that way for probably 30 years. And I know what to do when he gets low blood sugar. I know what the symptoms of that are. And I'm going to show you a book that I got that kind of helped me like figure this stuff out. But I was like, what am I going to do when he has high blood pressure? So I bought this book. It's called The Survival Medical Handbook. It is later on in the document, so I'll show it again. But I started reading about that, and it gave me a lot of things to do with him. But we also kind of found in our research is that if his blood sugar goes really high and he doesn't have insulin, there really isn't anything that we can do with for him. So we kind of just decided we need to sit my mom down and we need to have this conversation with her. And it was a hard conversation to have, but we had to be brutally honest with her and tell her what was going to happen to my dad if his sugar went really high. And so this got me thinking about this slide. And so what's on here is it says, like, what's going to happen to you if you can't get your meds? What is the worst case scenario, like, with your condition and what might happen to you? What do you want your family and friends to do for you? What symptoms should people watch out for? And spend time researching your condition, gather information that you can share with other people and friends, and make sure you know what to do in case of emergency. Nobody wants to have these discussions, but like we are looking at situations where we might be denied medical care because we're not vaccinated or whatever, or like the supplies that we need might not be available. And that's just, it's something that nobody wants to think about, but if you can kind of start thinking about it before it happens, and you can talk to your tribe about it, and you can plan for it, like, you might be able to save your life. Like, we figured out things that we could do for my dad if he does like get really high, and it's kind of just like make sure he's comfortable and hope for the worst. But just knowing that is just kind of helping us prepare emotionally. So
You know
we
what?
didn't.
It is really brave of you to bring that up, because we talk about, all the things we need to do to protect ourselves from the internal traumas. I mean, the external traumas coming at us. But when we have family members that are dependent on medication or elderly or ill, these things are going to come up, and you need to have a plan. And I really appreciate that you brought that conversation to the table.
Yeah, this something was like, this was like, I should have said in the beginning, it's not just for if you're disabled, but if you're a caretaker for somebody who is. I just like, it's more just like just ideas, putting stuff together to get people to think of. But I am very worried about my dad. And you know what? I'm really worried about myself, because I hadn't seen anyone who'd been vaccinated in a really long time. And then my aunt and uncle came and they visited me for a total of maybe 30 minutes. And they're both, at the time, they had just been double vaccinated. And the original problem that I had is called ITP. It's or just thrombocytopenia. And that's when your body destroys your platelets, and it's a life-threatening condition. You could bleed to death. And what ended up happening is, after I saw them, I got the worst period I've ever had in my life, save for the one that almost like caused me to die.
Wow.
That ended up having the near-death experience. I was in so much pain. I bled so much. I had clots like I did when that happened, and it freaked me out. And I started researching the whole shedding idea, and it's not really shedding, it's more like transmitting spike protein and stuff.
Right.
And I don't know what this bioweapon that they're injecting people with doing, but I have had other bleeding incidences. I think it's been 3 months, and I've already had 6 periods after being around vaccinated people. And it's not just being around people. I've house sit for people that are vaccinated, and I've had nosebleeds and stuff at their house, and I've had petechiae and stuff, and that's not good. So I kind of just tell my family this. It's if this is what this bioweapon is doing to them, there might be a chance that I might not make it. And I'm okay with it, because I've already had that kind of experience. But I'm just I don't want them to freak out, because the ITP is such that they're really for me, I think at the time there's only 3 treatments for it. I didn't respond to 2 of them.
Oh my goodness.
And then the 3rd treatment was I don't know if it worked, because it just cleared up on its own after a while. But I know now, if you have some kind of a bleeding incident and you don't have any platelets, and my platelets have always gone they stayed when I was in the hospital between 0 and 1,000. So it could mean I have none, it could mean I have 1, it could be anything.
Sure.
So if I wasn't able to get immediate medical treatment, I could die. Even if I did, I could die. It's really scary, and it scares me because I've seen so many people having side effects from the COVID shots, and they're having thrombocytopenia, and that just freaks me out. It just makes me sad too. So I just tell people, I'm look, if that happens to me and I can't get emergency care, I'm not gonna make it. So I'm thinking differently, and I'm trying to pass my knowledge about gardening and stuff to my brother and my parents and stuff. And that is a really, really hard conversation to have.
It is.
Yeah.
And it's a conversation you have to have multiple times, because there are different times and different topics that you have to address.
And it's hard for them to say it, because I've always been the one that's been I'm gonna prep for this, we're gonna get food together or whatever, and they're just okay, no, you're gonna be fine, Lisa, you're gonna survive. And I'm just I might not, and that's okay. But it's okay, because everything, it's do it in little steps so we can get used to it.
Right.
The idea. So
right.
Okay, so next thing I wanted to have, let me see if I can share the screening.
Okay.
Again, or if it's gonna go away. Share. Yay!
There it is.
Share screen. Window, share screen. Okay, So we're back to just basic survival basics. So this is called the rule of 3, and I'm just going to use this to kind of go through the rest of it. And it's 3 minutes without air, 3 hours without shelter, and 3 days without water, and 3 weeks without food.
Okay.
And they're just basic. You can hear this from a lot of people, so I'm not going to focus a lot on it, but I'm just going to use that to kind of like go through the rest of it. And the next thing is also a survival basic, but this is a hierarchy of needs, and a guy named Abraham Maslow is a psychologist came up with this, and it's basically what people need to survive. And a lot of people focus on the first two, which are physiological and safety needs, so like breathing, food, water, sleep, that kind of stuff, and then security and employment and resources and stuff. But if we're looking at like what we're dealing with now, we really have to focus on the entire thing. So I don't want to like spend a lot of time on this, but we can come back to it. Like you could read it for yourself. But just know that long-term successful survival means looking after your whole body and your spiritual, like, and all of your basic needs too. So shelter. This is something that like I'm trying to think of in terms of me and my disability. What would I think of? So what would you do if you weren't in your house? What kind of what kind of shelter are you as a person capable of building? And can you sleep on the ground? I know I can't, and that's something I need to work on with my preps. I mean, I have like a bug out bag and stuff, but sleep is just the most important thing you need for someone like me, because if I don't sleep, my pain levels are going to get out of control. So make sure that you can make yourself comfortable, and I am definitely looking for that. I'm thinking of doing anti-fatigue mats, or maybe like a yoga mat or something like that. I want to make sure that I have it in my emergency preparedness stuff too. So some things you might want to get are like zip ties, paracord, duct tape, tarps, emergency blankets. This is some basic things to think about. But the other stuff is questions that usually they don't ask yourself, but you would if you have different abilities.
Sure.
So the next thing is water, and be sure to store water in your home. And that being said, make sure your water containers are sturdy. I have been getting distilled water from Walmart to use in my iron and my steam cleaner, and I have noticed that their water containers have gotten really cheap and they leak. So make sure you get like something that's maybe like one of those like clear Arrowhead ones that are more than just a milk jug, but be careful of those things. Another definite survival must is life straw, and that's going to take out like dangerous things in your water. And another really good thing that a lot of people don't talk about is something called a water bob. If you live in an apartment, it's great to have, and it's basically like a water storage system. It's just like a giant bag, and you fill up in your bathtub, and there's a picture of it on the bottom. And another thing you want to do, especially if you live in an urban area, is get a Silcock key, which is the thing on the top. That is going to open like faucets on the exteriors of buildings, like industrial buildings and stuff. And the one in the picture is the one that I actually have. And I think the bottom is the Silcock key, and then the thing on the top is actually, it opens like emergency electrical panels and stuff. On that particular model also has like a little screwdriver too, so I was able to get rid of some other tools in my kit and lighten it up.
Oh, that's
but that
great.
is really important to have. And another thing everyone should do is just like identify potential sources of water other than a tap in your local area. So look for pools, water storage facilities, reservoirs and catchments like a wash, a river, a lake, what home appliances you are. And like I said, do research before the disaster strikes and figure out how to get water like out of your toilet, get water out of your water heater, like, because those are great sources. And we're going on to food. Aim for 3 days worth of food, then build from there. And I didn't put this in here, but I probably should have. But make sure that like if you have dietary needs, just make sure you have food for yourself. Like I try to make sure that I have alternative sugar stuff from my dad. And I try to make sure that I have like a good mix of protein and stuff, so his blood sugar won't get high, because if we can keep it from going high, then that'll help a lot and help conserve insulin. Oh, another thing on insulin before I forget is that the insulin he uses has to be refrigerated, but they do make shelf-stable insulin, and it's something you can get, and you need to talk to your doctor and ask for a prescription for that. I have kind of hit a wall with my dad on prepping for that, and I can't get him to do that. But like, it is out there and it's available if you need it. Just to let you know. And when you're getting food, don't forget prep items like cooking utensils and heat sources, especially if you live in an apartment or something. You might want to get a camp stove and some propane. Sterno is really great. Like, you can get that at like Sport and Final or like other food places, and you can also find that at like the Dollar Tree sometimes. Long-term storage is definitely something you want to go for, like rice, beans, cans. MREs are expensive, but they're good for like a disaster bag.
Yeah.
And I definitely look at like places like Dollar Trees. Like, I know there's like 4 Dollar Trees in my area, and I know there's at least one that has amazing groceries, and then there's another one that has pretty good groceries. So just look around, look at different stores. They'll always have something different. And then with your food, just remember, first in, first out. Use your oldest stuff first and rotate your stores.
That's right.
Yeah. So for first aid,
keep
again,
a running
like,
list on the side of your fridge. When you use
Yep.
something, write it down, and then that's part of your next grocery list.
Mhm. And this is stuff that like people talk about, so I don't want to cover it a lot. But make sure you have the basics: over-the-counter medication that you use frequently, Band-Aids, extra medication, and one of the best preps that could literally save your life would be like just straight aspirin from the dollar store. If you have a heart attack or see someone that has a heart attack, you can chew up that aspirin and lie down and rest, and that could save your life. Another thing that I found in my own personal experience is blood clotting powder. That's amazing. I've had to go to the ER when I was sick with ITP, and I had some blood nosebleeds and stuff, and they used that stuff on me, and it didn't work in the long run, but it's something that's good to have. And you can actually get it in Walmart. I know I got some in the like sports and camping section. It's pretty cheap. I think it was under $10. And make sure to include rescue items that you might need, like rescue inhaler, like apple juice or sugar cubes if you're diabetic. And another thing I learned from Dr. Tenpenny is that hydrogen peroxide has a shelf life. So be sure to place it often. It lasts about 6 months, and then it starts losing potency. Okay, so we're on the bug out bags, and bug out bags are usually backpacks filled with items you would need in a survival situation, and they may or may not be right for you. Like, I don't particularly like my bug out bag. It's really heavy and it's hard for me to carry. I've gotten it down to pretty much the basics, but I need to still work out with it. But yeah, there's no point in making something you can't carry or that's uncomfortable to carry. So I came up with reimagining the bug out bag, and it doesn't have to be a backpack. You could look suitcases, duffel bags, small bag you can put in your purse. And I made myself like specific bug out bags just for my own stuff. The first one I did was like feminine hygiene, and that's kind of the stuff that I have in the picture, and I put it in a pencil case. And I had one of those, and then I did the same thing for my when I had an ulcer, and I just put all the medication for that in there. And I had one for fibromyalgia, so I have heat wraps, like topical pain sprays, and I just put that in a shoebox, and I put it in my car, and I can take it wherever I go because it's all in one spot, and it's easy to get to take and move around. So that's a way you can reimagine a bug out bag if you can't carry something.
That's really good.
Yeah, and it's just really helpful. And I mean, just when you see something and you're like, I don't know if I could ever physically do that, or maybe that's not right for me. Just think about like smaller ways you could do it, and just smarter ways. And another thing I want to go over is transportation, and go back to your brutally honest assessment and figure out the best way to leave your area if you have to. Could you walk? Could you ride your bike? Do you need a car? Always keep a good pair of shoes at the ready and make sure they're broken in. You don't have to buy anything if you don't need it. Like, just keep your comfy shoes available. I know I live in California, so I've gotten into the habit of leaving them by my bed because, earthquakes.
Yes.
And if you have mobility assistance devices, whoops, I just totally screwed that up. Sorry. If you have mobility assistance devices like a walker or a cane or something, make sure that you have like mobility assistance devices that are appropriate for wherever you'd have to go if you had to leave your area. I know that like canes, like, or walkers or something are like pretty much for like pavement and stuff, but this one thing is a picture there is a hurricane, and I think that's a really interesting development because I've tried that just out of curiosity because I knew some people at my grandma's before she passed away, like place that had it, and I was kind of really bad and during that time, so I just tried it out. And that thing has got like it's got a bigger base, and it kind of helps you like negotiate over uneven terrain. So you might want to start thinking about alternatives to the stuff you use. And if you do use mobility devices, like you might think of having like some kind of a backup too.
You know what? That's really great. I do have a cane that sometimes, you know, if my back is all screwed up, I use my cane.
Yeah.
But I only have the one. But I do have a walking stick for hiking, but it's a lot taller and bigger.
That's different too. So that's a good point. But if you're gonna go on your bike or your car, think about making a like a bug out bag for your bike or your car, and you just have extra stuff you might need. Like I always said in racing, like I'd hate to lose a race because of a 45-cent like fuse or like a hose clamp or something. And a lot of preppers are making fun of me for having this stuff, but I'm like, guys, like just go out, spend like $5 at like the automotive store and get yourself like some basic stuff. Because if you have to leave and you're relying on your car, you don't want to like have something like really basic go out that you could fix and that costs less than $5 or something.
Yeah, absolutely.
And these are just stuff that I have. Like we could read this better, but like keep your car filled with at least half tank of gas in case you have to leave. I try to keep it full at all times, just because gas is like it's gonna hit I think $5 by the end of the month here. We're at like $4.90s already.
That's really steep.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's getting so crazy. It's like I don't go anywhere anymore unless I have to. And okay, this is the big stuff. Self-defense. Okay, self-defense when you're not able-bodied to avoid risk in confrontation. And this is something my ex told me. He used to be on a SWAT team. And he knows the difference between concealment and cover. Like concealment means they can't see you. It's not going to protect you. And cover is actually having something that's going to stop bullets. So like, unless you're behind like an engine block in a car, like it's not going to protect you. Unless you're behind like a block wall, it's not going to protect you. It's just something to think about if you're in an urban area or something like that. I have knives. I think they're a great multi-purpose tool. I keep them with me in my purse and in my bug out bag, and I can highly recommend force multipliers here, like firearms, slingshots, mace, pepper spray, especially if you can't defend yourself, like because you're not able-bodied. I know that freaks me out, and I'm getting really freaked out because Antifa seems to be making inroads in Southern California a lot, and they will go after you.
They will. Do you have a taser too?
I don't have a taser,
you can get a really good one on Amazon. It's got 12 million volts of electricity.
And, I should probably get one of those.
It's a little tiny handheld thing. And it's got a little wristlet that goes over your wrist, so if somebody manages to take it away from you, they can't turn around and use it on you because it pulls the pin out. But I used to go walking with my girlfriend and my dog at night, and I would just take that with me and just snap it now and then, and nobody ever bothered me because nobody wanted to get the zap.
Yeah, exactly. And another thing I thought of that, like a lot of people are like, well, I don't have a lot of money to do a security system, and this is something me and my brother thought to get for our house because we've had prowlers and stuff in our yard. As we got one of those like door charm things, like when you go into a store and the door rings. We got one of those, and they're really cool because they're like solar. So we have 3 of them in our yard, and it can tell us when somebody's like coming up to our house, like if there's somebody on the side of our house, and it's just a chime. So it's really easy to use that, and they're pretty cheap. Like I think the whole system with the 3 of us probably less than $150. Here's just some more emergency basics to think of, like know how to get out of your own apartment and have a safe meetup spot, and you might want to look into getting an emergency ladder. And definitely if you live in like a high rise or something and you have mobility issues, like just think about like what's the best way of getting out of here, because I know like I can get downstairs, okay, getting upstairs is a problem for me sometimes. And in terms of meetup spots, make sure you have one that's close to your home if there was like an earthquake, and then make sure you have like one that's not so close that would be good to hide out in if there was like civil unrest or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course, whenever you go somewhere, just know where the exits are, because if you're not completely able-bodied, it might take you a while to get there.
That's right.
Yep. And practice situational awareness and become a gray man. And the idea of a gray man refers to just blending in with their surroundings. A lot of people, like, I see preppers do that, and they're like, I'm going to be a gray man, and I'm like, this is how I'm, like, packing under my, like, sweater or something. And I'm like, that's kind of, like, not what the gray man thing is. More like, when in Rome, do as a Roman's idea. So if I was to go to, like, UCLA or something, like, I wouldn't, like, get really super dressed up. Like, if I would just wear my pajamas, I'd look like all the other college students there. So if you don't want to go and like be like geared out with like tactical stuff or camo or anything, because you're gonna be like a pretty like big target. So just try to like just look like someone that's not gonna notice you.
The most important thing to do is put your phone down when you're walking from a building to your car. When you're walking from the grocery, when you're wandering around the grocery. If your list is on your phone, set the phone down in the seat in front of you and open your page to it so you can scroll through your list. But put your phone down and pay attention to who is in the same aisle as you, how often, how close are they getting to you, and pay attention to when are they checking out at the same time as you, and are pay attention to that stuff. Everywhere you go, pay attention. You make it a game for yourself. When you sit down in a restaurant or wherever you are that is out in the coffee shop, notice everything about the people around you. This man's wearing a gray shirt and he's got shorts on. He's got ankle socks. The logo on his shirt is this. His hat looks like this. What color are his eyes? What color is his hair? What kind of phone do you think he's carrying? When he gets up and leaves, does he get up and leave, or does he go and sit in his car for 15 minutes? Is he waiting for you?
Yeah.
What's he doing? Pay attention.
You do, especially if you're disabled. Like when I was living in Bakersfield, it was a lot more dangerous than I think it was down there, because it's like the agricultural area. There was like cartel stuff going on, and there was like a part where the human trafficking got really crazy up there with that stuff. Like there were women that were kidnapping other women up there, and that really freaked me out. So that's when I stopped like listening to headphones when I went walking and stuff, and I started like just carrying more personal protection stuff with me, like, and just being more aware. It's just like there's so much scary stuff, and I don't think it's gonna get any better, unfortunately.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and then the fun thing you can do is like if you're walking for exercise, like just start observing your area. Like where I live, it's California, so there's tons of fruit trees. So I'm like, well, that's a fruit tree, or that's a lemon tree, or that's an orange tree, and there's lots of abandoned fruit trees too, so I can find things a lot. So in case you have to forage for food, or like look for stuff like pools, like could I get water from that or something. So that can be a fun thing to do. So just finishing up here, like where to shop. I get a lot of stuff from like dollar stores, like 99-cent only, Dollar Tree, Family Dollar, Five Below. That's like a $5 store. Daiso is kind of the same way. It's a Japanese store. They have really nice stuff. Dollar General is really good. Just in terms of general stuff, I go to Grocery Outlet and Food for Less. They have really good prices. I like the produce at Food for Less. Like you can find like actual like fruit that's actually ripe and stuff. And if you want to save money and you want to get stuff in bulk, like Smart and Final is really good if you have those in your areas. They sell bulk stuff for restaurants, but you don't need a membership card like Costco. And if you do have a Costco membership and you live in California, look up like Costco for business, because they have so much better stuff and they have lots of bulk stuff. Like I get bulk flour and stuff there, and it's like I could get like I think 50 pounds of flour for like $14, which is really good.
That's really great.
A lot of people like don't like the idea of like going to the scratch unit to get in clearance sections to get like cans and stuff to prep, but I've been doing that all year, and like I said, it goes back to the first in first out thing, and using that first before you use your like really good cans. Like you don't want to buy anything that's obviously like the seal has been messed up.
Sure.
But if it's like a dent on the side or something like that, usually doesn't hurt the can. I mean, I think it's pretty like obvious when you start looking like at that stuff to see what's good and what isn't. And So that's where I get a lot of my preps, like a lot, honestly, which saves a lot of money. But even that's getting more expensive.
Sure.
A lot more people are shopping there. But for like stuff like tarps and stuff, Harbor Freight and Tool is good. Like a lot of their stuff is really cheap, like Chinese stuff. So I wouldn't go there looking for power tools or anything, but like just basic stuff. And they have like fire starters and stuff.
Sure.
And then Craigslist, eBay, like with eBay, they have like local pickup options. That's how we found the water buckets, or the big 55-gallon water bucket stuff we got. Local papers, flea markets, yard sales, thrift stores, and Goodwill outlets and bins. Okay, so I have to tell you about the Goodwill bins. My business that I had before, like I had to kind of shut it down, was I used to resell clothes on Poshmark, and I would always go to the bins and the Goodwill outlet. And the Goodwill outlet is the bins, but like they call it the bins because they just dump all their extra clothes into giant bins, and you can buy stuff for really cheap there because they charge you by the pound. So if you need to go and get like some winter clothes or something, and you can find like a Goodwill outlet near you, like try the bins because it'll be really, really cheap.
Okay.
Like
that's
I
good
think
to
the
know.
last time I went there, it was like I think it was like $3 a pound for clothes.
Wow.
And there'll be a ton of people, probably a lot of resellers there. It's dirty, and you can't really try anything on. So like just bring like a towel or something, and you can kind of try stuff on if you want. Like that's what I used to do. And then I don't like shopping on Amazon or anything like that, but these are some things that I didn't know about that Amazon has. Like they have Amazon Second Chance, where you can get used and refurbished stuff, and Amazon Outlet, which is overstock and discontinued stuff. So just in case you have to get something like a medical device or something like that, or something that's more expensive that you can't find anyone else, you could try there too.
Okay.
And I'm coming to the end, and these are just some of the recommended books. There's All Hell Breaks Loose, and then the Survival Medicine Handbook. And these are two things that you can get for free. One of them is really good to have. It's called When There Is No Doctor, a Village Healthcare Handbook, and When There Is No Dentist. And I put links there. You can get them off archives.org. I've also found a lot of other stuff that you can download for free off of like some internet libraries too. So
Excellent.
yeah, let me stop the share thing.
Okay.
And
You covered a lot of really great material and brought up a lot of points that we don't discuss often. So I really appreciate the time and the energy you put into this and the thoughtfulness.
yeah, no problem. I had a great time doing this, and it's like if there's anything anyone else wants to know, I would be more than happy to like do another presentation or like answer your questions. You guys can hit me up in Telegram, like Just a Cat Mom.
Okay. Will you be posting your presentation as PDFs in any room?
Yeah, I can post it as a PDF. Like I could potentially save it as like a Word document too if you guys need it. But I'll put it up in Telegram, and if you guys want like a link to it, I have a file posting thing that I use for White Rose Topology. I could just make its own thing for that too.
Okay.
So it's always up if you don't use Telegram.
Awesome. And I'll grab that from you, and anybody that doesn't, if they don't use Telegram, they can email me or they can email you, and we'll make sure they get a copy.
Yeah, does anyone have any questions or anything?
Were there any questions, you guys? I'm checking that.
Yeah, that's cool. I just think like if you're doing something and you have like if you're less than 100% able-bodied, it's just the biggest important thing is keep a positive mindset, and then just start thinking through things before they happen. And like I've found myself in some emergency situations before. Like I've been in a bad car crash when I was racing, and then I've witnessed some bad car crashes. And when I was in college, I took a sociology and mass behavior, and I learned about how people don't do anything and how people act in emergencies. And just the knowledge of that stuff really changed me. So when it happened to me, I've just been able to just be pretty calm and stuff like that. And that's definitely good, because you don't want to make decisions when you're like emotional and I mean, emotion is usually not the best way to make it something that's really could depend on whether or not like you live or die or something like that. So that's just so important of doing something as easy as like a thought experiment to think things through.
Sure. I have two questions for you here. Um, what is the single best advice you can give, and when did you start really getting interested in prepping?
Okay, well, like back in the day, I started watching like what was that show? Like that show on Discovery Channel about like preppers or something. I can't remember what was that dumb show called. And yeah, so I just watched that show and I thought, wow, that's kind of interesting. And my brother was into prepping too, like he got into that, and he was like he got me watching certain YouTube channels, and I started watching them too. But I just got kind of like you know how you guys always talk about like Wano Savin and everything, and you're like, okay, these people don't know what they're talking about. You can see through their stuff, and like that's how I feel with a lot of preppers, because it became obvious that a lot of the people that have big YouTube channels, it's like they don't know what they're talking about. They don't have any actual practical knowledge. They're all about getting gear, and that was like, okay, this is it. I just decided that wasn't what prepping was going to be for me, and then I just started thinking about when I had bad things happen to me. I'm like, okay, this was something I should prepare for, because it's like before all this pandemic and everything happened, it's like, well, what is a disaster? Like, are we going to be doing like a civil war, like some big shit like that, like they always talk about, like in the prepping channels? And I'm like, no, it's like losing your job. It's like having a major medical problem. It's like having to move out of your house or something. It's like the little things are more important to prep for. So that's when I kind of changed my thinking about that. And like I kind of changed other things with like my finances and stuff. Like the last 2 years before this, it's like I paid off all my debt, so I didn't have to worry about that. And I started just focusing on like building skills and stuff like that, and knowledge, and trying to actually put them in practice. Like I really have a goal for me to go out and like, can I build myself a shelter? Can I tie these knots? Can I build something? And I'm proud that like I have a garden and stuff now, and I've been using that stuff now. I mean, I could talk forever about the garden, but yeah. So
Wonderful. You know what? I think you covered so much great material today. We have so many really positive comments about this. You brought in a lot of new things for people to think about, um,
yeah, I think
and
like
they
probably the
really
biggest
appreciate it.
advice would be like like you know, they kind of give you in the media like idea of what a prepper is, but just remember like pretty much all of our grandparents and our ancestors were preppers, because that's just what life was. It's like you
That's
had to
right.
put up food for the winter and stuff, and you had to take care of yourself because you didn't always have hospitals and all of this expensive stuff. So like if you get into more like it's a mindset and a lifestyle, instead of, or not a lifestyle, but it's like just a way of living and a way of thinking, versus like I have to own this piece of gear, or like I have to have this stuff, or I have to be like this like commando. If you move away from that, it becomes a lot easier to do, and you can work on something that's going to work for you, that's going to help you a lot when you get there.
It's wonderful. It's wonderful. You have shared a lot of experience with us, and you have shared a lot of really good ideas, some good resources too, and everybody's feeling pretty. Everybody's feeling pretty excited about digging in and starting. Some people are just
Yeah,
starting.
awesome.
They're
Don't
asking,
like,
like, what happens? I'm just starting
yeah,
out
just start
a little
thinking
bit.
about it. Like that's all it is. And I would say, especially for any of us here in the Western states, like you guys have been covering it. I've been like sharing stuff on Telegram about this, but like I think water is going to be something that's really going to be like a big issue in the future. So if you know, if like just start thinking about like ways you could like either conserve water. Like I started like washing dishes in a basin and then using the water in the garden, because I don't know if that water is always going to be there for the garden. And
Using gray water.
yeah,
Yeah.
gray water and stuff. So like I think that's something we should focus on, because I know where you guys live. In my own racing experiences in Arizona and stuff, it's like there's not water there. Like it's something that if you get stuck out in your life without shelter or without like if you're not around civilization or if there's natural disaster or human-made disaster, like that's going to be a huge issue.
That's true.
So yeah, that's basic like the thing that you have to live because you have what 3 days with no water.
3 days.
Yep.
That's about it. Well, I
And-
want to thank you again. We
Thank you.
are running down to the last a few seconds of our time here.
Yeah, I
and
know. I'm like, I want to get some food so I can watch the show.
You did really great. It was a really beautiful presentation, and you've inspired a lot of people. You've opened up people's ideas for conversations they need to have with their families, and certain types of plans they need to make, and that's really important. And again,
Yeah, please, if you guys have like any ideas, or if you also have like diabetics in your family or something, or people, or like one thing I'm thinking of right now with my dad is his hearing loss has got really bad. And another thing that I've listened with is that they roll out 5G, it's affecting people that have hearing aids a lot, and it's making like tinnitus and stuff
Okay.
worse. So I'm gonna have to start thinking about stuff like that. So if anyone has any ideas of dealing with hearing loss in an emergency or something, like hit me up because I'm like really worried about that.
yeah, guys, connect with Just a Cat Mom over there on Telegram or in Theta, and we can carry on the conversation there.
And thank you guys so much, and I will see you guys later tonight.
We'll see you later. Thank you again, Just a Cat Mom.
Thank you guys.
I appreciate you
You're
so
welcome.
much.
Take
Good
care,
night.
guys. Be safe.